Hey,
Hey, how's it going, Ashley?
Hey. How are you guys?
Doing good. Sorry for the delay. We were just running through some sound check stuff and some snags, but
No worries, I
we're
get
all
it.
good. Yeah.
Feels like
Alrighty.
it's different every time we hook up to this system. We got to figure it out every time.
I'm not tech savvy at all, so I completely get it.
It's like a learning curve every day.
Okay. Yeah,
Well,
I
Ashley,
can.
thank you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, we've been wanting to connect. I think you were one of our very first followers that got on, like one of the very few, and we really appreciate all the support that you gave us early on and all the feedback that you gave us. So, welcome to Ruction Nation.
Yeah, thank you. I love seeing new podcasts come out, especially highlighting the trades. I think it's really important and just reaching out to everybody you can. So I like to see what you guys are doing all the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Why don't we just jump right in? Tell us what you do.
So I'm a structural steel welder. I primarily just weld 10 hours a day. I work roughly 48 hours a week, and I just spend all my time welding.
How long have you been doing this?
Since 2022, I had a little bit of experience prior to that in high school. I was an FFA and kind of played around with welding, but I wasn't really in it. And then I decided once I graduated high school that maybe I'll give it a try, and just kind of went to college for it at Nashville Auto Diesel College and turned it into a career.
So, if you don't mind, could you walk us through just the schooling that you went through and kind of that whole process from deciding where to go to what the classes were like to how long you were in school? Just kind of walk us through the whole thing.
Yeah, so like I said, I originally started in high school. Like I said, I was in FFA and I wasn't really sure what welding was, but I was in FFA for horses. I kind of took the class just to fill out some course requirements and ended up graduating high school early. And when I graduated high school early, I just got a job at Panera Bread and kind of wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. I knew I wanted to do something that wasn't going to be the typical college experience. I didn't want to waste money on going to a school doing something I wasn't going to like. So in my time working at Panera, I had a coworker who had mentioned she had a friend going to Nashville Auto Diesel College, and we just kind of started talking about it. And she had mentioned welding, and I remember driving home from that shift, kind of thinking, I was like, "Well, I tried it in high school. I didn't really like it in high school, but like, it'd be cool. Let's see if I can do it." So I had called my dad on my way home, and I was like, "What do you think about welding?" And he was like, "That's not a bad idea." Um, and I'm from Portland, Tennessee, and we had two colleges that specialized in the trades. And I applied to both and got into Nashville Auto Diesel College, or NADC. And they had a 6-month program available. So I talked to somebody and got enrolled in the classes. It was going to be a 6-month program, really fast, with different instructors each month. And kind of just jumped into it. I had never even used a grinder prior to that, so I was really nervous. But once I got into class and started the basics, it kind of fell into place. But yeah, so
That's awesome. Well, so after the 6-month class or the schooling, what happened after that?
So in those 6 months when I was taking classes, we had a company called Seal come to our school and give us a weld test, or an option to take a weld test. I was about 3 weeks out from graduating college for trades, and I had taken the weld test freshly out of a car accident with a concussion, and somehow managed to pass a flux core full penetration test and got a job offer from them. And originally, I had accepted 2 other job offers in Tennessee for smaller welding jobs, but it didn't really feel like something I was going to have a lot of pride in. I think it was food grade welding and some truck bed welding, which there's nothing wrong with that. It just didn't feel too exciting for me. But when I reached out to the school and I saw that they were welding structural steel, like skyscrapers and JFK Airport and all that, I was kind of like, let's do it. So I canceled my other jobs that I was going to take and told my parents that at 19 I would be moving 8 hours away in 2 weeks. So it was a big change. It was a big jump, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. So
Yeah, I can't imagine being thrown into
yeah,
just the construction industry, especially in such a high capacity at that age.
yeah.
I mean, that's
It was
pretty wild.
Yeah, it was definitely a learning curve, but I knew I wanted to just take the risk to kind of get out of my hometown and see what was possible. And I could have stayed comfortable and lived with my parents until the age I am now, but it felt like it would have been a loss not to try. And it was scary the first couple of months. I didn't have any experience working in the trades or with only men, but I learned so much, especially just about the trade and how versatile it is.
Yeah. What do you have like the biggest takeaway moment, I guess, in your first couple of months on the job? Like, what was the biggest thing?
I would say how to really work in the environment, especially as a woman, just learning the different people and kind of how to, I want to say honestly, more than anything, the confidence that it gave me was the confidence to try in it, because I went in that shop and I kind of knew how to weld, but I don't think trade school gave me the experience to actually know what I was doing. So I remember my first day in the shop, they had me just run a simple pass, and it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And just hearing how many people would give me all these opinions on what to do, and you kind of have to figure it out yourself. You can take little bits of it, but it was just like a learning curve too. But I think through that, just listening and keep trying and fixing my own mistakes, you kind of learn to grow and get that confidence to just keep trying and not give up on it, especially with it being so new.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes. Like at 19 years old, I'm like, I would have been eaten alive out there, I feel like. And you throw in being a woman in the trades on top of that, and that's just so much more impressive. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you
Thank
accomplished
you.
that and took the leap of faith. If you were to rewind and give yourself a piece of advice when you were first thinking about this, when you were working at Panera, what would you give yourself as advice, knowing what you know now?
That's a tough one. I would say that I wouldn't change too much about how I did it, but I would change not the level of seriousness, but I wish I would have been able to expand into different kinds of welding. So in school, I was able to, do all kinds, the TIG, stick, MIG, flux core, but I feel like I didn't get to really expand into that. I don't trust that I could go into another shop right now and run a TIG machine as easily as I could flux core, which is normal because flux core is relatively easy. But I wish I would have taken more initiative to really learn those before choosing my career. And I love the job that I have and I love the welding that I do. I just wish I could also trust that if I wanted to do something outside of the shop with a different kind of welding or fabrication, I would have the tools to do it. So I kind of wish I would have told myself then, take it serious on all levels, on all different fields of welding, because I could use those. And now I'm kind of 4 years out thinking, dang, I wish I know how to do this one so well, but what about these other ones? Could I do the same quality? And I wish I could.
Right. Is there any opportunity for continuing education through your company or just on your own merit?
There is. I would really like to learn to fit. I know the basics of fabrication, the cutting the metal, reading, measuring tapes, and how to fabricate simple stuff. Right now at the company that I work at, which is a wonderful company, I'm just primarily a welder, and you have a lot of options to grow in that company after so many years or months or levels of experience. So I'm kind of stuck in the welder position right now, but I do want to learn to fit. And it's been put out there, and I know eventually my time will come for that. But in the meantime, I just try to learn when I can. So if I don't have welding, I'll ask questions for like my fitters. What are you doing? How can I do this? Can you explain this to me? So currently, I don't have an exact timeline for expansion on what I want to do, but at least I try in those moments that I can't do much.
That's awesome. Can you just walk us through kind of a day in the life currently, just for anyone that doesn't know what your morning looks like, you know, your whole day really. What's kind of the usual?
So the usual for me is I usually have my first alarm go off at 4:45 in the morning, and I get to work about 5:55. As soon as I walk into that shop, we do our daily stretches, and I kind of take a peek around when I walk in, see we have stations of tables with steel in them, and kind of peek at what needs to be done, what's fit up and ready to weld, what's not. And I'll kind of just peek at where I can apply myself. Usually I have a station that I'll stick to, but if our other fitters need help, I'll kind of hop around to that. And what we do in structural steel is the shop that I work for, we're not traveling welders. We have the Lego pieces and we weld those up and we send them out to erection sites to be put up into buildings. So, yep. And again, most of my day is just straight welding. I'll help the fitters get material, clean it, cut metal, but yeah.
You said first alarm. Are you a multiple alarm person?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. My last alarm is 5:15, and if it's 5:20, I better get up because then I got like 15 minutes to get there. I got
as well.
my partner told me, he's like, you need to quit setting your alarm for 4 a.m. You go into work at 6. And I was like, I'm sorry, my bad. But yeah.
It's just a warm-up alarm, right?
Yep. Yep.
You're not alone.
So yeah, I guess I didn't realize until this last little bit that you were in a shop, not on a job site. Both Cody and I work on job sites as superintendents, so we get to see kind of that whole process, and we've got, you know, the field welders on site erecting things. What's the shop culture like? Is it like you guys have fun? I mean, is it?
Yeah. So I've worked for 2 structural steel shops. We do roughly the same stuff. At the current company I work for, we do more warehouses, not the skyscrapers and the big exotic buildings. But from my first experience, I would say it was kind of rough at the first company. It kind of felt like not everybody had each other's backs. There were, of course, people there that would help you and try to have your back, but it felt more hostile. And then I went to the company I work for now, and it feels like a family. And I know a lot of times I've had companies that I've been like affiliates for or something, be like, well, you could move. And I'm like, but I feel very fortunate for the culture that this shop has, because everybody hangs outside of work. They'll help you if you see you don't know something. Like, you don't have to be scared to ask. We have fun, and we're smaller, but I feel like because we all each other have each other's backs, we produce work really fast. And so I feel very fortunate for my workplace culture, because it really is just something I get to walk in and be like, man, I really do love my job.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, that's super important. We feel the same way about our company, and it makes a world of difference on the day-to-day. Sorry, you were breaking up just a little bit there.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. Sorry, my computer's lagging just a little bit.
No worries. Yeah, we can cut stuff out too if you need to like reboot or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Okay. I think the only thing I might need to cut out would probably be the company name. I didn't think about that.
I'll pull it out. Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was, yeah, I remember. It was like right off the bat, pretty much.
Yeah.
Sweet. We'll pull it out. What was I going to ask you? Oh, I'm so fascinated with your decision towards the end of high school to decide on the trades. I feel like that's so uncommon. And the whole reason for this podcast is we're trying to like promote the trades, there's a big need, and there's honestly a great opportunity for young people to skip the college debt and get right to work and get ahead in life. So you kind of described how you came to that decision. Are you glad you made that decision at this point? And B, has this been everything that you thought it was going to be? Is it much different than you imagined when you were making that decision?
So I would say, okay, what was part A again? I'm sorry.
Are you happy you made that decision? Would you decide anything different?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm extremely happy I made that decision. And I know a lot of times I'll have people just outside daily life be like, how did you choose welding? And sometimes I don't exactly know how to tell them I did, because it was so random. And I don't know if it was just my activity in FFA or the horse world that just kind of was next to the trades, and it kind of highlighted that.
Yeah, right next to blue collar trade work.
And I think that's how it is. It feels like it just kind of fell into my lap, and it had a little voice in my head saying, you should try that because it kind of scares you and you like adrenaline. So let's go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your second question, I mean, it turned into so much more than I thought it could have been. I was really expecting just to do it temporarily to actually fund another passion I had. I wanted to do videography for like trucks and cars and film and horses and stuff like that. And so I just used it as a way initially to fund that and get money to get equipment and stuff like that. But the more I really tried in the trades, I realized this is so much more fun and I have so much more of a passion for this than I do that. And so even though moving out so many miles away from my parents at such a young age, it was hard and it definitely had its challenges, but it turned into me having my whole new life, like in another state. And I feel like not only do I have my work family and my out of work family, it's opened up so many more opportunities for me than I initially expected. And I thought it would be a temporary choice, but I could see this being like my very long-term career, and I love it. And I'm so thankful I didn't choose the university or college route. No shade to that, but it really felt like for me it would have been a financial mistake and I wouldn't be in a job with this much passion.
Right. So you say, I wanted to ask this earlier, but you say horses. Do you guys have horses back at home?
I do. In Tennessee, I have an Arabian and a Tennessee walking horse. And from age 9 to last year, I've been riding and showing, and I went international to Canada one time. But
that's cool.
As I kind of moved up here, it did kind of dwindle away that I'm primarily focused on my job.
Right. When did you start in FFA? Doesn't it? You can start in 7th grade, right? Or is it?
So my school only offered it in 9th grade through senior year. And I had previously known the teacher through horses. My old horse trainer kind of was in cahoots with him. And I decided when I went to high school, it was like, that'd be a good extracurricular, or I guess my elective or my main focus. So I kind of went into that. And when senior year came around, I had the book smarts. I was actually pretty good at school, but I didn't want to think that hard. And I didn't want to do something that made me think that hard. Right. And so I was like, I'm going to graduate early. And I ended up senior year taking, I think 3 out of my 4 classes were all FFA classes. And one of them was ag mechanics that had welding in it. So
that's such a cool program. I
is.
wholeheartedly support FFA, just what they do for like ag education and like really career development. They do a really good job.
Absolutely.
Giving you resources.
Yep. So. They have so many opportunities in there, like parliamentary procedure and public speaking. All of that has even helped me in the welding world.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I was wondering, I don't know, this might come off a little weird, but the industry is male dominated. Everyone kind of understands that. How do you deal with all those dudes, for all the ladies thinking about getting into the trades?
Yeah, so at first I was very quiet and kind of reserved. And then I started working with these dudes and I got a little bit spunky. And I was like, okay, so they're gonna bite. And I knew that like you can't. I always make this joke at work, and I don't know if I can cuss on here, but I'll be at work and I'm like, I'm a bitch here, but I'm a big old baby at home. And it's just kind of putting a big front up.
Yeah.
But I I feel like, again, and that's just how it's grown my confidence, is just dealing and learning to let a joke roll off your back. And if you take everything so seriously, it's not going to be fun. You kind of have to have a hard shell in the shop. But I just like to say, at the end of the day, I like to bite back. If they're biting, I'll bite back, and don't let stuff bother you too much. It's not that deep. You're there for a paycheck. And if you want to be miserable, you're going to be miserable. But if you just have fun, you focus on your work, let your work speak for itself, you'll be okay.
That's very, very wise of you. I think some people just get caught up in the repetitiveness or caught up in their feelings. So it's very,
yeah.
very
And I do have to admit, like, you know, even in this last week, I had a comment made to me that in the first time in my welding history, did it make me a little like hurt? Yeah, it actually did hurt me pretty bad. But it really, at the end of the day, if you can joke it off, and if you have to use your resources like HR, don't be scared to, even if it makes you look soft. They're there for a reason. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I go home and I brush it off and keep going, because that's not what I'm there for. I'm not there for them. I'm there for me and the quality of my work.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself. So you're into the horseback riding. You mentioned videography was once a passion. What's your typical weekend look like when you're? How do you decompress, I should say, from work life?
Well, to be honest, on the weekends, it's mostly spent with my boyfriend and his friends. They're kind of like my family away from home. And we just do a whole bunch of stuff, just planning activities, hanging out. That's really the best way for us to decompress, is just playing games. And really, that's much. If I'm not doing that, I try to go to the gym. I was in the gym pretty heavy for a couple of years there, and I'm trying to get back into it, but with work, it's kind of hard. But yeah, mostly just hanging out with my friends and family and working on cars and all that. Just kind of enjoy that.
Nice. Yeah, just stay busy.
Yeah.
Activity filled.
Do you have a project car that you're working on currently?
I do not. Unfortunately, I would love to. I want to learn to weld exhaust and anything automobile very badly.
Is that something that you just picked up in your life, or is that something you did with your dad or anything like that?
No, so I haven't had a chance to weld anything on cars. And my brother and my dad, I remember seeing them work on trucks and everything, but I don't quite think my dad was expecting me to become a welder. But now it's something we kind of bond on, and I get to text him and be like, Dad, look at what I welded, and he understands it, and it's kind of cool. But I haven't, not much outside of work have I been able to weld too much.
Yeah.
Did you have family in the trades, or how were you exposed other than that coworker, or was that it?
Well, so my dad, who is like my best friend, he actually owns his own company, and he's much better at explaining it than I am. And for my whole life, if I tried to understand it, but he does like C&D robotic welding engineering or something like that. Cool. But I grew up around that and going into the shop with him and spending my weekends there as a kid, and kind of in it. So he's more on the engineering side. And I think that's why when I told him I wanted to do welding, he was like, yo, you should do that. And that was not only a way for us to bond, but I kind of, when I started going to welding, I at least understood his engineering aspect a little bit more. And when I go visit home and I'll go into the shop with him, I like to look at his blueprints now. And I'm like, this actually makes sense. Now I know what I'm looking at. But outside of that, believe I'm the first welder in our family.
That's so cool.
Do you think there's a big need for other young people to join your trade? Is there a shortage of labor and youth, if you want to call it that?
Absolutely. I think I don't hope there will always be a shortage, but I feel like there will be, especially with the push for more people to do more academic needed jobs. Not saying that they're not needed, but I feel like the trades are such an accessible tool out there that it should be used more. And I feel like if more people are exposed to it, because I'll tell people I'm a welder and they don't know what that is. And it's kind of shocking to me. I'm like, but it's all around you. And I feel like no matter your background financially or anything like that, there's usually always an opportunity in the trades. And I feel like FFA opening it up to younger students really helps.
Was there any pressure, whether that's peer pressure or just societal pressure, when you were making that decision to like push you towards academia, continuing education on the college route?
Fortunately, no, I don't believe so. I know that I was heavily into parliamentary procedure and English. Like that was something in school that I was very immersed in. And I know I'd have teachers say, if you want me on your college application, let me know, do this, this, and this. And the only time I ever thought about actually going to college was to continue my horses and continue showing. And when I looked at it like that, it didn't feel like it would turn into a career ever. It felt like it would take not only my passion for horses, but probably drain me. So it didn't feel right for me. And fortunately, I think my parents understood that too, especially when I graduated early, that it wasn't something for me. And they were very understanding of that, especially when I brought up, I think I want to do something different that'll last longer. They were really understanding.
It's awesome. When you were talking about actually being able to read your dad's blueprints, made me think, in the shop that you work for, do you guys build off of blueprints, or is it more like production welding, like repetitive welds?
So we do a lot of the same stuff, but we go off of blueprints. And that's another thing I love about this, is because some months we'll be welding the same thing and then we'll get something completely left field. And I love doing that. It feels like a puzzle. I love getting blueprints and looking at them and be like, oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a mind game. And if it calls for big welds or tricky welds, it makes my whole day. And I know sometimes I'll be like at my current fitter's station and I'll kind of peek over at the other station, seeing like a big column or big beam. And I'm like, I think I'm about to abandon you because I really want to weld that. That looks fun. But we are mostly just blueprints.
Nice. So you've talked about the stations a couple times now. Is there a certain thing that you've learned from coworkers or something that you've learned from yourself on how you set up your station?
So actually, our company is very well organized, and they've put in a lot of work to where we don't have to bring our own tools necessary. They have shadow boards, toolboxes, and everything's very well organized and to a T. If we need something, they'll get it for us. And they set it up to where we can come in, we can do our job and get stuff in and out as quick as possible. And that's been really nice too. And I think if more shops kept the cleanliness, because I've been in a shop where there was grinders and wire boxes and just a mess. And then walking into this shop, it was just so clean and pristine. And I feel like not only does it improve safety, but again, like I said, production, it has made getting things in and out feel so much easier for production.
Would you say that that safety is the biggest thing that drives efficiency, or?
If OSHA's not listening, then
That's a crazy
yes
question.
and no.
It is a crazy, it is a crazy question.
Because I think it's inevitable. I know, like, I did a career day a couple of weeks ago at an elementary school, and a fifth grader asked me about my job, and they're like, "Well, do you get burned? Do you catch on fire?" And I'm like, "Yes, you do occasionally," but I feel like when it comes to safety, and if you're doing it right, and you're constantly managing and looking over how things can be organized and prevented, it helps a lot. And I feel like that's part of the reason our shop became so clean was safety, and it's benefited a lot. I haven't seen very many injuries, and I personally have not seen a big injury before. And I feel fortunate for that. And I feel very safe in my workspace. So I don't feel like I'm constantly on edge, and I can worry more about the work that I put out than, oh, am I going to get hurt? And I know not all shops and places to work at are like that.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, it also sounds like they equip you guys with the right things, the right tools, the right material. I mean, you made the comment of, if we need something, we get it. So I think that helps.
Yep.
Tremendously.
Absolutely. They're very easy to work with. I know I personally get burned a lot. Like currently I get burned. I don't know if y'all can see that.
Yeah.
But then that was my own fault for my shirt. But if like I need sleeves or a different shade, they'll provide it. If I need new lens for my hood, they'll provide it. So I feel like they have my back as an employee.
That's awesome.
How's the like pay structure set up? Is it like a hourly wage, excuse me, or is it like a quota that you have to meet for amount of pieces produced or welded together? How does all that work?
Yeah, so at our company, we are hourly, but we do have the option, if we can push out enough in production based on tonnage, we can get bonuses. So I've seen a couple good bonuses in my time working at the company I'm at, and that's helped a lot. And I feel like comparing the two companies, where I work at now, I feel very well paid. And I know everybody can kind of complain, oh, I want more money, because who doesn't? But I feel like they are very good at rewarding you for your work. So not only do you look at raises and feel like you're getting taken care of, but the ability to also push out production and get a bonus is really nice. So it's kind of both in a way.
Gotcha. Yeah. Sounds like a great opportunity. What do you see your trajectory looking like? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah. So the next couple steps, like I said before, I really want to learn to fit, and I want to get that going as soon as possible. But long term, I am really interested in, I believe, CWI, Certified Welding Inspector. My bad. I can't speak. CWI. I want to be a certified welding inspector. I think that is an amazing job, being able to check the quality of welds and UT and X-ray and bend tests and all of that. I would really like to learn how to do that. I find myself all the time, I'm very much a perfectionist when it comes to my work, and sometimes I probably over clean my welds because I want things to be done right, because I don't feel like welding is too hard. And even going out in public, seeing certain things, I'm like, ooh, that looks like it's gonna be a problem in a couple of years. I would love to be somebody that can almost have their backs on that. Call somebody, be like, hey, this needs to be fixed before it becomes an issue.
You want to go to the dark side, inspector?
I do. I kind of sometimes feel like it, because I'll be looking at welds and I'm like, nope, that's not going to do it.
I mean, to your earlier point, welding is I mean, just looking around this room I'm in right now, I can spot welds, and it's crazy the importance of it. I mean, it's something fails, it's going to be catastrophic, or it could be catastrophic to a structure, a bridge, like a table, whatever. I mean, it's everywhere. So yeah, the importance of quality welders is I mean, huge. So it's good to hear from someone that's so passionate about taking their job seriously and performing really, really well.
And I feel like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I feel like in regards to a question you asked a little bit ago about like, do we have a shortage in young people? I feel like we don't have a shortage in the youths that want to weld, but I feel like we have a shortage of those welders that have pride in their work. I see a lot on social media, people that are very proud of their work and post beautiful work. But I feel like in the actual environment, I hear good enough for government work, can't see it from my house. And I'm like, no, if I lay a bad bead, it's going to bother me. I hate seeing people not take pride in their work. And I kind of get picked on sometimes, like, oh, you're slow. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to go back. And as much as that sounds like the welder ego, it's just, I think people really need to take more pride in their work, because if you're choosing it as a career, let's make it the best quality we can. I'm more of a quality over quantity person. And I feel like the more you focus on quality, the quantity will come in time. You'll get faster at it. And I feel like that's where our shortage is people taking pride in their work.
Why do you think that is? Is that a cultural thing?
I don't know if it's cultural. I think it has a lot to do with the environment and how certain employees may be treated by companies, or just maybe long hours or repetitiveness. I feel like there's a lot of reasons to it. I personally, I've had times where I'm like, man, I'm just tired. I don't want to do it. But the consistency that I hear, oh, I used to be good at welding and then I don't care anymore. And I don't get that. I feel like if that's the case, then maybe find something that you can take pride in. But
yeah, time to move on.
Yeah.
Which is easier said than done, but
it is, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have a proudest moment in your career thus far?
Oh man. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think on that one. I can't pinpoint one exactly, because sometimes I kind of I'll find myself every now and then when I find like a new way to make something work a little bit better. If I get to work by myself and I can recognize that, wow, I'm using a crane and I'm doing all this without having to ask questions, I think that to me is like the biggest thing. It feels like I've actually learned something, and I'm taking it all in, and I can trust myself to do the job I'm being asked to. But I mean, overall, I think the proudest thing was just taking that first step to even go to school for it, regardless of having barely any experience. I think there was one other girl in my class of 28. And that was different. It was different to take that jump, and I was scared. And my first couple weeks, it felt really, really slow. It felt like I wasn't going to learn. My first instructor didn't really want to teach me, I think, because he was scared of me saying something. But I think I'm just proud that when I was in school, I kept trying. That even though my first beads were horrible and I didn't know what I was doing and I was scared to touch the table with anything that had an arc on it, I still kept going.
Yeah, that's a good one. Kind of kicked off your whole career path. Yeah. Huge leap of faith too. I can't even get over that decision. It's really cool that you did that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know. Sometimes you don't need those big proud moments that you can fall back on. It's just like at the end of the year, you can look back on the year. I just kept going. I showed up every day, and look at all this, look at all the stuff that you can do in a year. Doesn't need to be one specific thing that stands out. As long as you're just staying consistent, and it's crazy how much you can do in 1 year, even if you're doing
absolutely
not that much just a steady amount every day really adds up over time.
Yeah.
Have you had a low point in your career so far?
Yes. So, and I've talked about this a couple times on my social media, but not too much. When I moved and I was at my first job, I was going through a domestic abuse situation. And within that time period, I had moved to my current company. And when I finally was able to get out of that legally and go through that all, I almost completely gave up. I almost moved back to Tennessee and seriously considered going back to Panera just for some kind of income, just to make life easier. And I was set on moving home for about a month or two because I was drained and I was scared and going through a lot at that time, especially with mental health. I was struggling heavy. And again, like I said, to be 8 hours away from my entire support system. And at that time, I felt completely lost. I didn't know how I ended up here because, like you said, it was a huge leap of faith to do that. Mm-hmm. And when I kind of sat back and it was my first week alone in my apartment, I was kind of like, wow, this is scary. I'm in a town. What am I doing? Welding? Like, what's going on? But then I kind of was like, no, I'm going to make this my own. I'm not going to quit. Like I made it this far. I'm already here. Don't let it go. So I was like, I'm going to keep going at it. And fortunately without my coworkers, I don't know if I could have done it, but they had my back. They're like, stay, let's figure this out. And with them, I just kept showing up to work, kept pushing through. And I can very much so say right now that I'm so much happier and content and feel so loved by my trade.
It's cool that they rallied around you. No person should ever experience something like that, but it's awesome that you had
Thank you.
People, just around you that kept you and propped you back up in a time of need.
For sure.
It really is a brotherhood, sisterhood within the trades. If you find your community, your people, your crew, whatever, they do turn into family. So that's awesome that you have that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, that sucks. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely. No, it's okay. I very much so am open to sharing it on my socials and stuff because it is something that, especially women in trades, got to talk about more, is the mistreatment that sometimes we go through and reaching out for help even in your workplace if you have to.
Yeah, you made that comment earlier. Reach out to HR. Don't be afraid.
Yep.
Not being soft or it's okay to be soft, There's really no flex on not being soft. So
yeah.
That's very good advice, and I think everybody needs to hear that.
What you got, Cody?
I'm so curious about like the shop dynamic, because it's something that I've never personally gotten to see. I've gotten to see some really cool projects. Going to a place every day, I can't really wrap my head around, Do you guys ever get to do field trips and get to see the steel that you guys make?
Yeah, so one time we did. I can't talk about the exact project or anything like that, but our company was really fortunate to take us on a little field trip in the last year, and we got to see some of our stuff and walk around, and it was incredible. And I was really impressed by like all the field welders and just everybody on their erector site putting it up. I mean, they are working hard and 7 days a week even. So that was really cool. It was cool and felt like a full circle moment to be like, oh, cool. Like now I see what I'm building in the shop and how it looks in the field. Because sometimes I'm looking what's in front of me. I'm like, I have no idea how this is going in a building. And then go out there on a job site and see it felt very cool. And I like seeing how many people it's take to put it all into one.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of hands that touch every part of a building that no one really sees. I mean, even to what your livelihood is, no one sees that or truly like, I mean, they know in the back of their head, but they don't stop and think about all the hard work that was put into this said I-beam or whatever, you know? So it's really cool. In your guys' shop, do you guys receive, I guess, how do you get the material? Is it in a bunch of pieces and you just have to put it in together like Legos, or how do you guys get all this stuff?
Yeah, so usually, to my knowledge, I don't know how to speak on too many other departments, but from what I see, we get shipments of just bare I-beams and columns and tubing. And then we have a plate machine that'll cut the detail, and sometimes we'll get detail shipped in. We have a department for detail, and we'll get the steel onto our tables, read the blueprint, and go grab the detail and straight up just start building it like Legos. That's especially at like career days. That's how I explain it to even smaller kids. I'm like, we literally play with big Legos all day.
So cool.
It's crazy to see how just a bare column or bare beam can turn into something so elaborate.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. How often do you get to go on career days? That is so cool.
So I've been fortunate to go on, I want to say 2 or 3 now. My HR lady is wonderful at reaching out and just doing that to get connections. Even the little kids, just to get out there and talk about what we do. I've only been to, like I said, 3, and I've been working at my company for 2 years. But they're really great at bringing in people too. Like, we've had school kids come in, walk around the shop, see what we're doing. They have really made a good system to reach out to people and give them the opportunity to see what we do.
That's awesome. And sorry, you're where now? Where are you located at?
I'm in Virginia now.
Virginia. Okay. That's awesome. Is there I guess a big trades presence? Is there like trade schools that visit you guys, or is it just every kind of K through 12 school?
So we actually live in a pretty good area. There are a lot of different shops around here. I want to say there's a couple, maybe 3 or 4 structural steel, but we have a lot of different companies for that. And we have a college called, I believe it's, since I'm not from here, I think it's CVC, Community College Virginia Trade School, I believe. Might be saying that wrong, but they have a really great program, and our company works closely with them. Like I said, our HR woman is amazing at outreach, and she'll connect with them and give students the opportunity to take weld tests or ask questions. So I think it's really just a lot about like networking.
Yeah, that's a passion, I think, for both Nick and I. Just obviously with Ruction Nation and the podcast is just a huge presence on just uplifting the people that are doing it every single day, and then also just pumping out material so that the younger generation knows, and really everybody knows what the trades can do for you and how important and crucial it is. So that's
absolutely.
I'm jealous that your company does that, because that would be very, very cool in my eyes to be able to go to career days and to just talk with people. I do enjoy that.
Yeah, I wish I could outreach more as I used to. I know with the company now, I don't get to post as frequently as I used to. And that's why my account goes so quiet, is because I'm under an NDA and social media is second to everything for me. So I don't even have my phone in the shop floor. So all the time I'm missing messages and all that. So I can't get content anymore like I used to. I know at my previous job, I could set my phone up, it's hidden somewhere, it was allowed, and I would be doing my job. But now if I get content, it's just superficial. It doesn't feel right. But when I did start posting my welding content, it felt so cool to have other little girls or just anybody message me and be like, hey, how can I do this? Can you tell me your story? What's it like? And that is so cool, because now I feel like I know tradespeople all over, and we all kind of have each other's backs. And I feel like it's really inspiring and so needed to get the word out.
So what do you say to a young person that wants to get in the trades? What's your piece of advice? Where do they start?
Man. So I would say, I mean, you have two options. You could do trade school if you have no experience, if that's what you're more comfortable with, or you could do the hands-on and get to learn. I would say a lot more is the paid apprenticeship route. I feel like trade school is great for beginners like I was, because I was very uncomfortable and scared of everything. But I feel like if you do an apprenticeship, you get the hands-on, you get people with experience that'll tell you their own tricks, and everybody around you will kind of just give you that insight in the real world of it. So I feel like there's different options, but don't be scared to take either of them, because I feel like you can't go wrong. There are so many ways to get into the trades, and I feel like it'll work itself out more than anything.
So I feel like we live in such a fast digital age. You can pull up your phone and order food and it's at your house in 20 minutes type of society right now. How is the learning and experience process within your trade? Because from my experience, it takes a lot longer than people initially expect, especially young people coming in.
So if we're talking about welding specifically, I feel like with the digital era, it's pretty easy to Google how can you lay a weld, and that's great for basics. I feel like it just really depends on the kind of work you end up in, because I feel like there are so many different aspects and ways to do things. Even just from my first job, I learned a lot, and then I go into this new shop and we're doing essentially the same thing, and I've already learned so much more. So I feel like you're never ending learning. And yeah, I feel like learning welding is relatively quick. Once you learn the basics of one, it's not too hard to pick up the others. But it's just, I'm not too sure how to word it. How serious you take it and how extensive you want to go through it, what positions you want to weld, what material you want to weld. There is a lot to learn about.
Refining the skill set.
Yeah, refining the skill set for what job you need to do, almost.
Yep.
What is the worst thing that could happen? Like you're on a really good bead. It's, I guess, how long can you stay on a bead?
Oh, well, I like long beads. So, man.
Hence the burn on your arm.
Yeah. I can't think of the longest weld I've done. I could say I'd probably go about 3 or 4 feet without kind of stopping. If it's just a straight stretch wing plate or something like that, I can go. And if I kind of start uncomfortable and end up comfortable, I'll do a little shuffle with my feet and can keep going. But yeah, as long as my pinky is not on fire, and even sometimes
is that the is that the member that gets burnt the most, the pinky?
Man, that's a tough question. I burn my face a lot, like at least once a week, because I am so pale. I would say my wrist and my face I've burned the most.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like every time this might just be a me problem, but every time I focus that intensely, I feel like I get like super itchy. So I feel like I wouldn't be able to hold a bead for very long. I'd be like, oh, my cheek itches, or my arm itches, or my back, or something, So kudos to you. 3 feet.
It kind of varies sometimes. If I'm on the ground, I'm good. But the problem is I am very short, and I feel like maybe they should have had a height requirement for our shop, because I have my own personal stool. And that is one thing I should have brought up, is that going into the trades, I did not expect that would be such a big thing, but I will climb into columns and beams and look like a monkey to make sure that bead looks good. I don't care. It's going to look good. But yeah, so, and I have gotten to the point, I'll be running a bead and I'll get sleepy, or I'll get kind of just jittery. But for the most part, once you start welding, I feel like it's multitasking so much. You get so focused and it's very calming. And I like to count when I weld sometimes to just make sure it stays consistent.
That's fair. What's another, or what is a cool trick that keeps you sane? Like you said, counting. Is there really anything else that keeps you in the zone?
Man, honestly, it's just focusing on the weld. I feel like once I start a weld, I'm thinking about so many other things while being so focused. Just counting and listening to the noise. And like I said, we have radios, but we don't have phones or anything. So it's I can hear the music and just focus on the weld. But typically I'm so focused on the whip. I don't know if y'all know too much about flux core, but I know it's kind of like maybe a faux pas for some that you only drag and you don't whip it, but I actually push and whip my flux core welds. And I really like to just focus on the whip and counting it sometimes, but yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't really know what that means. Can you explain that a little further?
Yeah, so I know like with TIG welding and stick welding and hardwire, you can kind of almost like it's kind of like that. I don't know any other way to really explain it. But typically, with flux core, you just hold the gun and go straight. But I will quite literally make a little movement where it forms the puddle into those dimes that they talk about. So
sure.
What, I guess, why? Is it more efficient to move it a little bit, or
makes it look better at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, I personally think it does. I see that's one thing that's really cool about being in a shop is you see how everybody welds differently. It's almost like a fingerprint because some people weld the same, but it all can look different. I know one of our welders, he's wonderful. He doesn't whip his welds at all, but they still look flawless. I just like the look of it. And I feel like when I whip my welds, I have a better consistency. Sure. And that allows me to count. So like I'll do like a 1, 2, 1, 2. And when I do that, I feel like I get a straighter bead that is pretty good.
That's awesome. Was there someone along the way that taught you what you know today?
Yeah.
Like
I had
a good mentor or a couple mentors.
Yeah, I've had a lot of mentors. One that really stands out was at my first job at my first company, and his name was Timmy, and he has been in the trades for a very long time. And while I knew how to weld a little bit, I didn't know how to make them pretty. And he was the one that was so patient with me. He set up metal for me to just sit there for my first shift and just practice. And he taught me how to whip the weld and he, push it and all that. And he really had my back through the whole time. He taught me a lot. He was very, very patient. And he kind of felt like a guard dog too in learning how to work with men. He was really good about just keeping the area where I could just learn and figure out how to do the job. So he was a great support system to have in the shop.
Nice. What's something that, like, when you talk to people that they have like how do I want to say this? Something that they think they know about welding, but they're typically wrong about?
I think I would go back to flux core. I think there's a lot of standards for it where people say if it has slag, just drag, or I don't know, I can't remember the exact saying, but slag, drag. But when I learned flux core, I learned that too. And when I went into the shop, I realized that's not exactly true. So like I said, I push my welds, and I feel like that's a really good way to almost call somebody like that they don't 100% know what they're talking about is how you can weld. Sure. Saying that there's only one way. And with certain stuff like stick, that can be true, but I feel like there's so many different tricks, like with the flux core, it can kind of out itself. So I know I had posted a video saying I think the want to see welders fight, say push or drag. And it did. In the comments, people were very mad. And some people would be like, say something like 90-degree angle. And I was like, that you don't know what we're talking about, do you? But yeah, I think there's just little things you can notice.
Yeah. Social media is wild. There are a lot of keyboard warriors. So have you seen any of that in any of your content? Like where people are trying to tell somebody who is actually doing it how to do something?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a lot of interesting comments, especially because I've had some videos blow up. I get called a dude a lot. That's one thing.
Just
but
like,
also
like by passing by, like, what's up, dude? Or
they'll be like, this dude's obviously in trade school still. And I'm like, no, that's me in a shop. And I'm also a woman. But just all the time, I think they just have to find something to nitpick. I know at my old job, we used a special wire and it was quite big for flux core welding. And somebody in the comments will be like, oh, too fast. And I'm like, no, it was pretty spot on. Or they'll say something like, that was way too cold, or your settings are off. And I'll be like, did you see my settings? Because the settings you just said are exactly what they were. So I feel like people aren't very patient or understanding. I feel like a lot of that welder ego that's out there, I see more hate in like the trades comments than I do a lot of other ones. I feel like they're constantly trying to be like, oh, I know more than you. But really it's, hey, your welds look great. That looks awesome. I don't know. Just a lot of different.
Why do you think
I like I said, I think there's those little memes that go around that's like, oh, I'm the best welder, I'm this and that. And it's like, well, I feel like it's just they're trying to one up each other all the time instead of have, support for each other.
Fair.
And I know even, yeah. I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, I cut you off. I apologize.
But yeah.
Good.
Okay. Well, I was saying, I know sometimes like I had posted a big weld and somebody was like, well, what about that hole? And I'm like, it's not a hole. And they're like, yeah, it is. I'm like, okay. But I feel like instead of having conversations that kind of explain what's going on and asking, hey, why did you do that instead of this? This looks one way. Why doesn't it look like that? Instead of having conversations where you can learn from each other, it's kind of just you suck instead of trying to figure out why somebody did it the way they did.
A lot of big egos out there. So
yeah.
And I mean, like you said, you had your mentor at your old company and someone kind of take you under your wing, pass on knowledge. That's obviously way more helpful than being the I know everything, you suck at your job guy.
Yeah.
But have you taken anyone under your wing or gotten to mentor anyone in your career so far? And if so, what was that experience like?
So I haven't had a chance to where I have somebody stick by me for a while. But we'll get new hires in, and every once in a while I'll have somebody be like, hey, go watch her weld, ask her questions, especially when it comes to full penetration welding, which is a whole science in itself. And I love getting to do that, especially like the younger kids. I know we've had some kids from high school, as soon as they turn 18, come into the shop. And I like getting to give advice too, as much as I like getting advice from other people on how I can better my work. Just showing in tips and tricks on it. If they're stuck on welding something, just help them out almost. But yeah, I haven't gotten the chance to really teach somebody how to weld. I would love to. I think that would be really cool.
Okay. So what is the best part of your job?
Big welds. Anything over a 1/2-inch weld makes my day. I love, like I said, those big columns and stuff that kind of require a lot of thinking on how you're going to weld it and how to make it the best it can be.
Is like think thinking about how the approach to welded is, or how to like explain that to me, I guess.
Yeah, so when I get like a big weld, and I say big weld as in it's going to be a multi-pass. It's going to have multiple passes on it. I like almost trying to map it out. How can I like tubing? So tubing, we don't do vertical or overhead welding in our shop. We only do flat and fillet welds and then occasionally 2G welds. And I like getting to I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to explain it 100%. Let me think. Yeah, I would just say like the science behind it, figuring out the placement of each weld and how I can replicate it each time to keep it so consistent that it becomes uniform almost. I like the process of it from start to finish, the cleaning process, and how to make it just look one whole.
Well, it's like a piece of art at the end of the day. You know, something that you.
Yeah, it's very satisfying. Yep.
Yeah, right. 1/2-inch weld. I don't even know if I've ever seen 1/2-inch welds on our stuff. What stadium are you working on? No, I'm just kidding.
What stadium?
Like stadiums, airports. I wonder how big welds are on like gas pipe. Like big. I don't know. Trying to think of something that would have a 1/2-inch weld. Where do you typically see them? Or where do you send all this stuff to?
So at my previous company, we did 270 Park Ave in New York, which is, I believe, the JP Morgan building, JP Chase and Morgan Bank. We did that skyscraper. And I remember seeing somebody post a video like, how is that building standing up? And it had just columns almost kind of in a weird shape holding up this whole building. And a lot of people were like, I have no idea how that's holding it up, but it would have huge welds on it. Mostly on like base plates, or they'll go in the concrete typically, but they'll have big welds. I know a couple months back we were getting base plates that were 900 pounds up to 1,000 pounds, 2,000 pounds, and they would call for 5/8 welds, and that was like made my whole day. It kind of laid out the day for me, just focusing on that. So
wow,
that's gnarly.
How do you move all that material around your shop? Do you guys have forklifts and stuff?
Yeah, we have forklifts, jacks, overhead cranes.
That's cool.
Cranes like within the shop?
Yes, we just have the overhead rail cranes.
Oh, okay. That's really cool. Dang. Are you certified to operate all those things?
Everything, but believe it or not, I am not certified to run a forklift. I have been trying. That is one thing I have been wanting to be certified on. I have driven the forklift, but for some reason it keeps getting put off. I don't have to work a forklift quite often. It's mostly up to our material handlers, but I'm certified to run the cranes.
Nice.
And then there's in-house inspectors. Is your stuff getting inspected as it goes out the door, or as it leaves your table? Type of deal?
So we have our QCs, our quality checkers, and we kind of have a system for what we do. We'll get our pieces, we'll fit up one face of a beam, get it checked, get it welded, then get it QC'd again and roll it, and then do the whole process again. So they're very great at ensuring quality and taking every step to make sure nothing is missed.
Have you ever made a significant mistake on anything?
Oh yeah, I've made a couple, but fortunately we were able to fix most of them. I would say one of the biggest ones was I hadn't welded 2G in quite a long time, and I had gotten a full penetration 2G outrigger, which is like a piece of steel, and it had another one like this on it, and it had to be welded, gouged, and welded again to be entirely fused. And with that, it would be UT'd. I needed to pass a visual inspection, and I hadn't welded like this in a while, and it turned out rough. It definitely took a hit to me a little bit, because I was like, well, man, I can weld, but what is going on here? This looks like crap. And it took me a couple weeks to get the hang of it. And by the end of that sequence, I was able to do it confidently, but it did take a time. I ended up asking way too many questions. My confidence kind of went downhill, and I was panicking almost because I didn't trust myself to just weld it like I normally would, because I wanted it to pass visually and then our UT. And it it was a challenge, but again, I just had to keep figuring it out. And eventually my boss was like, "Hey, you need to like have confidence, focus, you can do this." And I was like, "Okay." And once I stopped asking so many small questions that I knew the answer to and stopped second guessing myself, I kind of caught on and figured it out. And then it fortunately resolved itself, and I had only that first one failed, and then the rest of my UTs all passed. So it was a learning curve. It definitely was a nice reminder of, hey, that's how you weld this. Make sure you're still doing that. Know how to keep it in check.
Do you think you were harder on yourself than anyone else during that time?
Absolutely. I think like I said, I'm a really big perfectionist with my work. I'm very hard on how my welds come out, and I hold myself to a really high standard, even to my own default sometimes. And a lot of times I'll be like, "Man, that weld looks like crap," and my coworkers like, "That's fine, like that looks great." I'm like, "But it doesn't feel like it's up to how I want it to be," and I feel like I could always do more. And especially then, I was so upset that I couldn't just do what I had normally done, where I come in, get the job done. I don't have to ask any questions. I can be trusted to just do it. But then I felt like I was relying on everybody else, and I couldn't trust myself to do it. But fortunately, they were able to kick my butt a little bit and be like, "Hey, you can do this. Stop it." And it helped a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little boost. Going back to the youth and anyone that might be interested in following your career path, what would your top 3 qualities for a person interested in doing shop welding and being successful at it? What would those be?
I would say a willingness to learn. I think you really have to be open to criticism, and not fight back and not act like you know everything, because it doesn't mean you're bad at your job. It's just something you have to learn one by one. And so, like I said, willingness to learn, a patience, and you have to have communication. I think that's maybe one of the biggest problems I see in the shop that I work in now, any shop that I have worked in, is communication has to be one of the main qualities for sure.
I was gonna Virginia, is it union there or no?
We do have some unions around here. My company is not union, but I know there are, I believe, 1 or 2 other companies in the area that are.
Nice. Has that ever interested you, or has that ever been presented to you, or what are your thoughts or take on it?
I did actually apply to one of the union jobs, but I did kind of steer away from it once I found out how this shop had ran, providing their own tools and all of that, and as well as the pay. I don't personally want to work union, but I do support it. I just like the structure. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. So getting your own tools, getting PPE, getting yourself started in welding, should these younger people expect to pay for their own stuff? Or I guess what did you do?
So I was fortunate when I went to school that my tuition covered my first tool bag, and I was able to get a welding hood and all the tools I needed right then and there. And that felt really lucky. And I took most of those tools into the shop with me, because at my first company I worked for, you had to have your own tools. It feels very unusual that the company I work for now does provide us all the tools we need. So I'd say you should expect to have to pay for a majority of your tools. When it comes to uniforms, I think it's hit or miss. I typically have to go get more shirts than most people in my shop because I burn through them so fast. But I think it just depends on company. I know our company will give you an allowance every year for pants or give you the option for uniforms. But like I said, when it comes to tools, I feel like it's hit or miss too. It really just depends on where you go. I would say it's safer to buy your own tools because not only are you making sure that you're taking care of them and they can't get broken by anybody else, but you also know what you have.
Yeah. Is there a brand clothes wise? Is there a brand tool wise that you would recommend to people starting out?
Yeah. So when it comes to clothes, and workwear, I really like the Brunt boots. My Brunt boots have lasted an incredible amount of time, and it's time for me to go get some new ones. So I'm working on that. But those have been the most durable boots. I know Ariat has great work pants, and for shirts, I'm fortunate I get company shirts, but Goodwill is great for shirts to catch on fire too.
You guys don't
But
have to wear any FR clothing or anything like that?
we do. I believe we have the Black Stallion sleeves, and I actually have my Lincoln Electric welding sleeves or my jacket. That's lasted really long too. I've had that since I was in welding school. But typically when I'm in the shop and it's so hot, I'll just try to keep it long sleeve with a fire retardant sleeve on.
Right.
Tools, I am hit or miss when it comes to welding tools. I really like Miller, but I also like Lincoln because we use both. I think Lincoln is great quality wise, and so is Miller. I would claim Miller is a little bit more durable for it, but yeah.
Have you seen I think I've mentioned this before, but I just am fascinated by it. But there's these little, I think they're Yes welders on Amazon. They're like pretty inexpensive and people are getting them. We've seen our like actual on-site welders with them utilizing them. And
I've seen them a
like
lot more, yeah.
it just blows my mind because you think high dollar stuff would be better, but people are finding out ways to make it more cost effective, which is awesome for the tradespeople.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think finding it more cost effective is great. And I didn't know that they were on Amazon, but the Yes Welders, I've definitely heard of them, and I haven't actually heard too many bad reviews on them.
I think it's Yes Welder. I don't know if I'm misspeaking, but
yeah,
that sounds familiar. It does
Yeah.
sound familiar, but I've heard a lot of good things about them. And yeah, and the little backpack welders. I know Lincoln has a very tiny one that comes with a strap, and it's also a great little compact welder.
That's crazy.
what are the 5 essential tools that any welder needs?
Definitely your welding shield, 100%. I would say gloves, fire retardant sleeve. I think so. We got hood, we got sleeve, we got gloves. You need a scraper, and you need, I would say, if you're a wire welder like me or a wire monkey, you need your welding pliers too. But yeah.
It's awesome. Does 5 get you by, or would that get you through a day?
Me personally, no, I need my stool. I need my stool to reach everything. So, but if you give me 6 and it's those 6, I'm good to go. If I walk in the shop and I have my bandana, my welding hood, gloves, and then even if you just give me pliers, I'm good to go.
That's fair. Did you make your own stool?
No, it was actually, this stool is old, and the company had provided stools, but they were yellow and they're about, I want to say 2x2, and they were heavy metal ones. And I was kind of struggling to keep moving them around all the time. It was making me slower. So we found that an old coworker had left an old Rubbermaid stool in the back of the shop, and it was full of old tools. And I was like, that's the one I want. And that has been the best thing in the shop. I could not survive without my stool.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Does it have wheels, or do you have to pick it up each time?
I do have to pick it up each time, but it is very light.
Sure.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. It's just funny.
I get bullied at work a lot for it. Oh yeah. So, and especially, and that's when I see like bite back. When it comes to crane remotes, the guys love to run the crane up to where I can't even press the button to get the crane box down, or they'll hold the remote above me, and that's when you just go for the gut, and then they automatically give you the remote.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's funny. I can just imagine. Yeah, I think working in a shop would be so cool.
I do too.
It'd be very different, very different than our day to day. Nice, you don't have to deal with weather. You know, you got a consistent work environment.
Yeah.
But
True.
Yeah, I went and toured some like prefab shop a couple years ago, and yeah, it was fascinating. Just so much different. Yeah. Super clean. It seemed like a great place to work, honestly.
We are definitely spoiled. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that our company has spoiled us to the max because, and I know a lot of welders or tradespeople have gotten mad at me for saying this. We have AC in our shop, and that is like a big, they get really mad when they hear that. So, the first company I worked for did not. We were very out in the open. Even if it was a shop, it wasn't very covered. So we had gotten flooded, and there were ground wires and like not very safe. But this shop, it is so, I feel so lucky. We got our heaters, we got our AC.
That's a win-win, right? You know,
oh yeah.
That space, you guys are going to be real productive.
Yeah, for those of you that are mad, you have the opportunity to go into one of those situations if you don't want to go out in the field. So
we've got multiple fab shops. So
yep. Well, we are kind of reaching the end of our time here. We do typically we'll give our guests an opportunity just to give someone a shout out or throw a message out into the world. So we'll just give you some time to say whatever.
Okay. Well, I would say, I mean, if you're scared of going to welding, don't be scared to go in the trades. Just try it. Because, I mean, it'll lead you into ways in a life that you may have never expected. Because it definitely changed my life for the better.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Appreciate your message and appreciate you coming on. Do you have any?
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.
Final thoughts, Cody?
No, but thank you so much. It was awesome getting to hear your story and just hearing your take on the trades.
Thank you. Thank you guys again. I really appreciate it. It was great meeting y'all.
Yeah, great to meet you as well.
Thanks, Ashley. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.